Hi, welcome to Midwest Magic Cleaning. My name is Jack Hammerthrust, and today we're going to be helping out my ex-wife. If you're a longtime member of the channel, you'll remember Emily. She had asked me for some help, and so Kristen and I packed up our stuff and went over, and I'll explain more about this, but I want to give a quick walkthrough of the house first. So what we're doing today is Emily has had some problems with depression off and on and anxiety, and she knows that this room is one of the causes. It's cluttered, yeah, but it's more that we need to do some open space, and we need to do something about this lighting. So these are kind of closed a lot because the TV is right there. And as you can see, it gets a lot of reflection, so you have to have the curtains closed in order to watch TV. And she likes this room. It's comforting. And right over here, we're going to put her computer. That way she can play with her computer in this cozy ass room, and we can flip the couch around to where it's facing this wall and then put the TV against this wall so we don't have to deal with reflections. And that does a couple things. The first is it gives her more space. And when you're dealing with anxiety and depression, the more space you have, the better. And lighting. So the more sunlight we have in here, the better it feels. So we're going to use this room to show how we can redecorate and just rearrange for people to deal with icky feelings. There's Emily. We're going to declutter the kitchen a little bit. It's just basically stuff that you set down whenever you walk in the door. No big deal. We're going to unclutter this, organize it a little bit, and then just kind of do our thing. But there's Emily.
And then we know bonk my face on your thumb. Hi.
And there's Kristen. Piece of shit. Now, that being said, I want to bring something up front right from the beginning, and that is the best treatment for depression is usually a combination of therapy or counseling, even if that counseling is just speaking to a friend who will listen, and especially somebody who can give you some feedback and not necessarily some advice, to say, do this and now you won't be depressed. It's just the back and forth fills that part of our human nature that craves social contact, as well as sometimes medication when necessary. So the combination of those two things seem to work the best, but there are some physical things that you can do to head depression off at the pass, and those would be diet and exercise. When I say diet, I don't mean cut down your calories or whatever. I mean just making sure you're eating healthy and getting exercise, and you don't need to go in and lift 1,000 pounds worth of weights, but that's what I do because I'm so strong and huge. But even just walking, getting some movement, getting outside so sunshine can do what it do, which is produce vitamin D, which, just so you know, vitamin D was my nickname in high school. But I digress. There are some things that will have an immediate effect on your depression in the positive. And that's what we're doing here today. That's changing your environment. There are environmental factors that can enhance depression. I'll give you an example looking around this room. So the room itself, this is where she mainly hangs out, and this room is rectangular. It's long and thin. And on one wall, she has a couch, and on the opposite wall, she has the TV. Now, since there are both long walls of the rectangle, it makes the room seem thinner because those things are taking up space along the thinnest part of the room. So it makes the room look more compressed and claustrophobic. So even though there's physically the same amount of space no matter how we do this room, we can visually open it up and psychologically open it up by cutting that rectangle into two squares. And now instead of the couch and the TV taking up room along the edges, we're going to make the living room its own defined space and a computer area behind that, which is in its own defined space. And when you see the before and after pictures, you'll see what I mean. Because we divided that into two squares, it makes the room look much fatter than it actually is. Fat probably isn't the right word to describe that. It looks much wider than it actually is. That wideness gives you the illusion that the room is bigger and more open. And the human brain craves those open spaces. It's why most people, even though you may not be an outdoors person, you feel better whenever you're in a wider, more open space like the park or your mom's Tinder inbox. box. In the room's current condition, it feels more prison cell than living room because everything is so squeezed together. Now, I pointed out in the walkthrough that lighting was an issue, and that's an issue of functionality. She had to keep the curtains closed because it was reflecting off the TV, but it's really widely known that sunshine helps treat depression. So if we can get those curtains open and allow sunshine to enter that room, it naturally increases endorphins. And in most instances, you can feel the relief from that depression almost instantaneously whenever you get into a well-lit area. So the whole reason that we're doing this rearrange is to increase space, to increase lighting. But there's another thing that goes hand in hand with most people who have ADHD, and that is the craving for something new. Emily has moderate to severe ADHD, and occasionally she just wants something new, or she wants, something to look new, like repaint the living room or buy a new couch or get a new TV. That's actually really, really common. And it's not just with ADHD. There's lots of people who crave that, but it seems to be more prevalent in people with ADHD. Well, one way that you can head that off of the pass before you go out and dump $1,000 on a couch or buy a new TV or spend hundreds of dollars on paint for your living room is to just rearrange. It makes the room look new, and it makes it feel like you just moved into the house whenever you rearrange. So Emily will actually rearrange her house maybe 2, 3, 4 times a year just to feel new and refreshed again. That's another thing that we're helping her with is that newness feeling. In doing that, we're going to naturally declutter the room as we go along, and we're going to get all the pet hair that's built up underneath furniture. You'll see the dog. There's also 3 cats in the house, but the dog, her name is Dakota, and she is part Great Pyrenees. And because of that, she sheds white fur like crazy. And it just gets to the point where you can't get underneath TV stands, and it gets underneath the couch. And so as we're pulling all this furniture out and emptying the room, we can sweep it out, which is going to get rid of some allergens and just make it feel new, clean, and refreshed. But that decluttering, especially when we get in the kitchen, is going to make a massive difference. And I don't know if I've ever explained this before, but I think it's important to note for anybody who has a problem with clutter and depression at the same time. If you were to stand on one side of a room and you look across the room at the opposite wall, every single thing that gets in between your line of sight and interrupts your line of sight will be subliminally or subconsciously registered as chaos. And so you may not look directly at the chaos and go, oh my God, that's chaos, I need to remove it. It's just sort of this mental TV static that interrupts your thought process. So the more of that chaos we can remove, the lighter the room feels mentally. That means not just trash needs to be taken out, because we really didn't throw anything away from this house. It means putting things away that you're not using. It means the things that you are using, we're going to stack in some sort of symmetrical way. And everything that can be put out of sight, out of mind, we are. So in this case, we're going to be taking her computer out of an office space, moving it down to the living room, and then we can repurpose that room that we just opened up as a storage space for things that she uses or doesn't use, but doesn't need to have right out in the living room. As far as counter space goes, when we get to the kitchen, we're going to do the same thing, but the goal is as much exposed counter space as possible. Because when you're looking from the living room into the kitchen, all of that clutter that interrupts your view also interrupts your brain. And that's what produces the chaos. So we're going to expose countertops. And in doing so, we're going to reduce the clutter and the chaos and produce peace. It really is kind of like a magic trick how well it works. Because when you start, you're going to get an endorphin hit just by moving and working. But when you finish and you look back across the room, the relief that you feel when you see open countertops and cabinets that are stocked properly, it really does have an immediate effect on your levels of depression.
Really dark social commentary, but it's also hilarious. And the only one in theater. been meaning to watch Bullet Train. Brad Pitt and a whole bunch of stars. It's like really quirky and fucked up. It's been out forever. It's supposed to be really good. It's just kind of a fun, weird movie, but... You ever seen 13th Warrior? No, I haven't heard of it. It's, Antonio Banderas playing like a... like Eastern Indian? So it's insensitive, but it's really good. It's weird. It's like, 90s fantasy. It feels very kind of Robin Hood, but also Highlander. Oh, yeah. It's like a little bit more bold than Robin Hood, and not as cheesy.
Now let's jump back to the lighting real quick because I think this is really important. There's a part of a certain personality type that really loves the comfort of a dim room with light yellow lighting, with the curtains closed, with dark paint. It just feels kind of cozy. The problem with that is that when you, just by human nature, just by biology, when the sun starts to go down, the brain naturally starts producing the chemicals that prepare you for sleep. It reduces your energy output and it starts saying to the body, the sun's going down, it's going to be time for bed soon. And so you start to get down or a little bit tired. Even in somebody like me who stays up until 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, which I do every night, my body still does that because it's just, you can't beat biology. The problem with staying in that state perpetually, if you're in the living room all the time and it's dark like that all the time, is your body never reaches its peak energy output because it feels like it's dusk. By keeping yourself in those dimly lit rooms, you're actually kind of interrupting your circadian cycle. You're accidentally hacking it. In a perfect scenario, what I would want would be to paint her walls something lighter or brighter or happier, something that reflects light really well. Then we would open up those curtains and let light do its thing. Then at nighttime, when she wants to get back into that cozy area, she could close the curtains, turn on the soft yellow lights, and then just relax. But I think that during the daytime, the more light you have, the better. It's because of that reason that whenever I'm redesigning my own house, if I decide I want a new paint job, I tend to keep the rooms that I stay in the most often during the day. So for instance, my kitchen, my living room, my warehouse, I will keep those rooms a light color of paint. I'm boring, so I like white or a very, very light gray. Then I punch it up with a happy color like bright teal. That's just me personally. But on my bedroom, I want darker colors because I want it to feel more nighttime in there. I only go in my bedroom whenever I'm going to play video games and going to sleep. So I don't want bright, cheerful, exciting colors in my bedroom. I want it to feel like dusk. So in my bedroom, I have it painted a very dark gray, or that's the room where if I wanted color, I would make sure it's like a forest or deep olive green or something like that. Something dark, something not exciting that doesn't catch my attention. Now, as far as paint making the room look bigger or smaller, I've never understood that, and I probably never will. I've never changed the paint color from light to dark and then been like, man, this makes the room look so much bigger. I don't understand that, and I don't know if that's because of my autism or whether that whole makes it look bigger thing is just full of crap. I don't know. I don't notice a difference. But I do notice a difference in my mood when I'm in a light room versus a dark room, and that's the most important thing to me. So suck it.
You may have to redo your speaker. I'm putting in the one I think it should go in, but that may not be correct. And then this one was $130 at Best Buy because it's a TV. Yeah. And it's like, all that shit. Something like that. Cameo. Actually, don't mind. Yeah, that's all shut off.
Another big motivator that really helped Emily out, and this was probably the most important thing to her, at least that's what she told me if she's not a lying liar who lies, is that it just helped having two people there to body double with. Just having somebody in the house and we're all moving together, it motivated her to work right alongside us, so that movement would definitely help out. But just being able to gab with people and gossip with people while we're doing this other thing makes it feel less like like work and more like decoration, more like it accesses the creative side of your brain rather than the we have to get crap done part of your brain. So with her, a big part of this deal, like she could clean this on her own and she had no problem cleaning it on her own. The biggest thing was like, man, I've got to move that computer from the office down to here, and I've got 2 monitors and a big old tower, and I've got to do the desks and the chair, and then I've got to move this couch and move the TV, and all that can be done with one person, but it becomes overwhelming, and you're like, man, this is a job that I have to do. But with all of us there, we use the creative part of our brains to say, what if we turn the desk like this? What if we did the couch like this? Why don't we try the TV over here or that big massage chair? Let's, instead of keeping it out in the middle, let's put it back in the back part of the room and see how it looks and feels. When you're doing it by yourself, it's just like the most you can do is turn on some music and hope that you don't get tired. And then everything is a job. And once you start it, you're like, now I have to finish it. With other people there, you're collaborating, and it's just like having some friends give some advice or try things out, and it feels funner than it has any right to feel.
If you worry about it, then you will
Two quick things to point out before anybody jumps to the comments. One, I know that her computer desk is cockeyed, like she likes her mouse pad and her keyboard and all that stuff to be at an angle. That's just the way she's always used a computer. So that's why that's like that. And two, we put the record player next to a vent, which is not the best place to have it, but I went ahead and shut that vent. That's there kind of temporarily until we find a better place for it. But for right now, it's within reach. She can use it. It's not going to have hot air blowing on the records and warping them since the vent's shut. So get off my butt, Mom. Mom! Now I'm going to suggest something that's going to sound kind of crazy, and it works a lot better if you've got a friend to help you. But if you have the means and you have the space to move things out of a room, what I would suggest is to get a weekend where you're like, I want something to do, but I don't want to go out and I don't want to do the normal thing that I do, like, beating up strangers at a Walmart and practicing MMA on moose. You're just like, I want to do something, but I'd like to stay home. Get a friend over and remove everything out of a room, all the way down to nothing. No posters on the wall, no bed in the room, no couch. Move it all into another room. Clean it real quick with a quick sweep and mop or a vacuum. Wipe down the walls, clean the windows, and then redecorate that room from scratch any way you want, just like you just moved in. I'm telling you, it takes a lot of work and a lot of effort, but if you got the right friend to help you and you got some bouncy, fun, happy music to play while you're doing it, when you finish that room up, you will find so many things that didn't belong in that room to begin with, and you'll be forced to put it away into a closet or a storage room or just another room. And when you get done, everything is as basic and as decorative as you can get it because you're pretending that you just moved into that house. I call that a move out, move in clean, and it's not feasible for everybody. So, a lot of people don't have the space to move all their crap out into another room or a hallway or whatever. But if you can do it and you can pull it off, I would do it. Heck, film it and put it on YouTube. You never know. You might go viral and get crazy famous or something. But when you finish it up and you sit down in that room and turn on your TV at night and just relax, the feeling you get is incredible. And so like I redid my warehouse in my own house. That's where I sell all my stuff in the shop from. And every time I walk into that room, it blows my mind and I smile because it used to just be boxes stuck on everything, just piled on top of each other. And then once I got everything out of there and got a rack system and got everything organized, every single time I walk into that room, it just makes me happy. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, if it's been a while since you've been on the channel or you're just discovering me, I sell the same cleaning supplies that I use in these videos on my website, MidwestMagicCleaning.com. I'll put a link to that in the description of the video. I sell cleaning rags, microfibers, ultrafine microfibers, suede cloths. The big fluffy duster that you saw me using on the TV stand earlier, that's one of our big sellers. But we also have merchandise like hoodies and t-shirts, coffee mugs and calendars and planners. So if you're ever seeing me doing one of my hoarding cleanup videos that I do for free, and you're wondering, oh, holy crap, what do you use to get that stuff off of there? The rags that I use are the exact rags that are on the website. That's, again, MidwestMagicCleaning.com. One last thing in my shameless plug spiel. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. We are on the downhill slope to 1 million subscribers, and when that happens, we get a gold plaque, and that's all I've ever asked in return for the channel, is I want the shiny, pretty gold plaque. The subscribe button is free. There's another one that's not. That's a join button, and that is for the members only section. If you join the members only section, you get access to Discord, which is where a whole bunch of us hang out and talk, and you can do everything from text to video to calls, and a lot of us hang out on there. That's one of those things where I always tell people, if you can't afford it, don't do it. It's just an extra. But if you ever wondered where to find me during the day, that's usually it. I'm usually hanging out on Discord. But the more important one is the subscribe button. Again, it's free, and I want that gold plaque so I can rub it in people's faces and tell them how much better I am than them, and to just really placate my own ego. That's, if you can't do that, why even have a YouTube channel? That said, members, I will see you all this Wednesday. Everybody else, I'll see you next weekend. Later.